Yes, engaging presentation. Yes, engaging. Thank you for
Good afternoon, everybody. We'll just wait for 5 more minutes in case there are other people who want to join us. Thanks for joining. Okay, all right, students. I think the 5 minutes has passed. Okay, let me welcome you to this final session of the semester for COM 3703. We'll be focusing on the guidelines on how to put together your portfolio. Let's remember this in this session, we're not looking at the respective themes because we have got the recordings that are available for you that will provide you with a guidance on how to approach the respective themes. So in this class, we'll be looking at generally how to then do your portfolio. Okay, my name is Mr. Lechaba. I'm the module coordinator for this. I'm sure you should know me by now for this module, COM 3703. And with me is Mr. Siabonga Mfupi, who is responsible for the narrative analysis theme. All right. So he can just say hello to you guys.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome once again to this class. Looking forward to engaging with you. As Mr. Chavez said, this is the very, very last online class session to prepare you as part of the final preparations for your portfolio. So enjoy the class, and we wish you all the best. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. Mfupi. So if any one of you can just indicate if you are able to see the screen, the presentation, if you can just show by thumbs up so that you're seeing the screen before I move on. Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. All right. As I've mentioned, in this class session, we'll be just providing you with general guidelines on how to do your portfolio to guarantee a pass in this module. So I believe that a pass in this module is just very, very easy to get a pass. Just make sure that you follow the guidelines, you do what you're supposed to be doing. There's no way that you'll fail the module. So we'll guarantee that you pass the module. All right. So the team members that are involved in this module is myself, Mr. Lechaba, Tony, or Lechaba, which is my first name. Okay, I'm responsible for quantitative content analysis as well as media audience theory for this semester. And then Ms. Babalo Sibango is responsible for film theory and criticism. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but she could not be with us today because she's currently on leave. So if you've got questions regarding this theme, you may write to her directly. She will respond when she comes back next week. And Mr. Siabonga Mfupi, as I've mentioned, he's responsible for narrative analysis. Okay, as just some of the issues that we encountered with your assignment one, as we were marking your assignment. Firstly, you need to consult tutorial letter 201, which is available under my modules in the official study material tab or folder. Just go there and then access the tutorial letter 201 for the feedback, assignment one feedback, and see how you should have or you could have answered certain questions. Again, in particular for question 2, quantitative content analysis, in terms of how you could have formulated your research problem as well as your research questions. Because you're not going to get the right results of this the project or this content analysis if you don't have the correct research question as well as research questions as well as the research problem. So just go there and check in tutorial 201 and see how the research problem could have been formulated as well as the research questions. You are free to use those questions as they are in the tutorial 201 to help you answer the questions for question 2 as you compile your portfolio. So we have noticed that some of you just copied the prescribed material word for word, verbatim, which is not acceptable in some internet sources. So this is amount to plagiarism. Plagiarism. Yeah, plagiarism, and it is unacceptable. So if you need to paraphrase your source and then write in your own words, if you need to quote the source word for word, use proper quotations marks, and this should be done very scarcely. Not it should not be overdone. This the using of quotation marks as it demonstrates that you do not understand. Probably you lack understanding of the source. So when you paraphrase, you write in your own words, you demonstrate understanding of the theory, and then you can explain it using your own interpretation. Okay, for introduction, many students did not outline the chronological structure of the assignment to warrant the 5 marks. Remember in the intro, what you need just to tell us what you will be discussing in the assignment. Just outline the structure. So for question 2, I'll be looking at this and this and this and that, and followed by question 3, which is narrative analysis. I'll be focusing on a series and analyzing the series. After that, then I'll move on to media audience theory and focus on a telenovela and so forth. And then I'll be concluding this assignment with the theme on film theory and criticism. So you're outlining the structure of your essay to us, so to warrant the whole 5 full marks. Don't forget to mention also the names or the titles of the text or media examples that you'll be using in the introduction. If for question 2, you'll be analyzing or doing a content analysis of a Sowetan newspaper, tell us that exactly that newspaper that you'll be analyzing is a Sowetan that you have analyzed or you've observed for 5 days. Also the name of the series for narrative analysis. So conclusion should then summarize the main points of your portfolio. Okay, there should be no new information here. So it should mirror your introduction. You've now discussed your quantitative content analysis. You've analyzed a Sowetan newspaper. You have also analyzed a series in the narrative analysis section, and then you've also conducted media audience theory analysis on a telenovela and so forth, right? So just summarize what you have discussed. No new information should be placed in your conclusion session. Almost everyone just have do the table of contents incorrectly. So just check how to then do the table of contents. Later on in this session, we'll be showing you an example, a physical example on how to do your table of contents. Another issue that we have noticed is the application of the relevant theory. Students struggling to apply the theory appropriately, right? So you need to then read the theory and then engage with it to be able to then apply it. Okay, we move on. Okay, still on feedback. Not addressing the questions. So a question says discuss the 4 uses or advantages of content analysis. Then a student will discuss something else, right? So you need to make sure that you understand what is the questions requires, and then you address whatever it is that is required by that question, so that you don't lose marks. The section on self-assessment and self-reflection, remember this section is worth 5 marks. So make sure that you address all the questions in this section in detail to get the full 5 marks. Not using the correct referencing techniques is also a big issue that we have encountered. Later on, we'll be showing examples of how to then reference sources in text. Submission of corrupt files. So remember, we have an issue here where some files are corrupt, submitted by some of the students are corrupt. And when you open those files, there's nothing to view. we just get a blank page. And then we have also sent an announcement informing those students to contact myself so that we can make arrangement. However, remember, as we are busy now with portfolio, all the assignment marks should have been due or are due already. So if you've not contacted myself and you are one of those students who is affected by this, please do so before the 15th of May. And then from there on, we won't be entertaining anybody because we've done everything in our power to assist those affected. So there's nothing we can do because there's nothing to mark. So we can't mark because it's the file is blank. So if you are affected, kindly, please contact myself before Monday, the 15th of March. Afterwards, there's nothing that we can do, unfortunately, because as all assignment marks have to be in. We are already late this time because now we're dealing with the portfolios and the examination. Okay, this is the prescribed book for this. Obviously, I think by now everybody has already made an arrangement to get a copy of the prescribed book. Remember, we've got two versions. Any version is applicable because the content is the same, right? Whether you have the original version of 2009 or the 2017 or 2018, it doesn't matter. The content is similar. So just use whatever version that you have at your disposal to answer the questions. And then you need to then reference that particular book correctly. Obviously, everybody should have read tutorial letter 101 by now, as well as CMNL. CMNL, of course. Also, all the study material. So there's a resource here that you can also use that will guide you on how to reference sources. If you click on this link, it will take you to that as a video that will show you the step-by-step on the how to do the referencing. All right, still on the submission of portfolios, kindly remember that we don't accept any emailed submission. We do not, so no email assignments or portfolios will be entertained. So do not email portfolios. So you need to submit online on the system, right? Do not email any assignment to us because UNISA assessment policy applies. So students who do not submit an answer file on my modules within the schedule period, in this case, the due date, which is the 26th of May, will be marked as absent. So you do not email any assignment to us. Just make sure that you submit your portfolio by the due date. And we encourage you to submit a few days before because of the issues that may arise in terms of the system being overloaded, because everybody else is trying to submit simultaneously or at the same time, and then causing the system to collapse. So if you want to be safe, rather submit a few days before the due date. That will be much safer. Okay, and then issues regarding load shedding. Remember those, we will not accept those excuses. So because load shedding schedules are pre-published, you need to then make alternative arrangements. If you know that you have to submit your assignment by this day, and then there is a planned load shedding maybe between 2 and 4, make sure that maybe you submit before the load shedding, right? So because we'll not entertain any excuses regarding the load shedding, because yeah, make sure that you make prior arrangement for such occurrences. Okay, regarding technical or network challenges, remember that UNISA does not accept responsibility for technical or network challenges relating to a student's internet access. So it's on you as a student to take the matter up with your respective internet sources providers. So if having issues with connectivity and the likes, there's nothing we can do because we're just here to just teach and provide content. Okay, another important issue to remember is that often it is found that several of the submitted scripts were not marked or only partially marked because of due to incomplete or incorrect conversion to PDF or poor image quality, pages being omitted when scanning and so forth and so forth. Remember, the only version that we require or that we accept is a PDF version. Please do not submit your assignment in Word or any other format. You write in Word, then you convert your file into PDF. And before you submit, you make sure that your file is openable, like we can access the file. You do not password protect the file, and also make sure that your file is not corrupt. Because obviously, if we encounter such a file, there's nothing that we can do because this is an official examination. You'll then get a zero mark. So it is very important to ensure that your file is converted correctly to PDF, and then the contents are visible. We can read what you've written. So if you are going to write your assignment by hand and then scan it, make sure that the file is not too large, because in most cases, the file becomes large and you only be able to then upload the file on the system, and make sure that your work is visible. We are able to read what you've written. If not, there's nothing we can do because we can't see what you've written. As I've mentioned, the default setting on the My modules is for PDF only, no any other version. So if you want to learn more on how to convert the file, how to scan, if you're using handwriting and so forth, you can then visit this online resource. It will take you, show you step by step on how to convert your file to PDF. Okay, now we're moving to the technical presentation. All sources should be referenced in text. So if you're not in texting your sources, you will be awarded a 0 mark for the technical presentation, and also the marks will be deducted. So 25% per question that is not a reference. So use the correct referencing technique. You can check this in your CMNL tutorial letters 301 on how to reference correctly. Check your grammar, the typing errors, terminologies, spelling rules, etc. You know, we follow UK spelling conventions. For instance, the word color should not be spelled as COLOR, which is the American version, but should be spelled as COLOUR. So COLOUR for color. So it is simple, just on your Word document, make sure that on your setting, like language settings, you set it to UK spelling or South African English. So make sure that you do that. All right, all word must be spelled correctly. So this means that you need to read your work. The correct punctuation should be used. You should follow the academic writing style. Remember, please do not use bullets in your work. So bullets are not required, you need to write in paragraph format, even if you are listing things, do not use bullets. And then you should also avoid abbreviations or contractions, right? Avoid words such as TV for television, e.g., for example, those words should be avoided. Write the words in full. So you need to ensure that your assignment meets the following, or your portfolio meets the following criteria. There is a compulsory declaration which is included and signed by yourself and a witness. If the declaration is not attached, so remember that that will be an automatic 0. So there is no negotiations. Make sure that you follow the rules. So any assignment that has no declaration attached will automatically receive a 0 mark. So I see a hand from Eugene. You can unmute yourself and then ask your question.
Good afternoon, sir. I just
you.
want to know, will there be a specific declaration that will be handed to us, or do we use the same one that we used during the assignments?
Thank you, Eugene. Use the same declaration that you used for your assignment, just the same one.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. So it is available on page 11 of your CMNL 301. Also, you've got the Word version of the declaration under the additional resources folder on my modules, so you can access it there. And then just fill it in, the information. Okay, this is how you do your table of contents, right? The first level heading should be in bold and in capital letters. The second level heading means 1.1, 1.2 should be in bold and then in lowercase, and also, bold and lowercase. Right, and then the third level heading is 1.1.1 should be in lowercase, bold, but in italics. So this is how you should do your table of contents. Remember, there should be a page as heading on the table of content itself. So remember, please do not use the templates that you find in Word that helps you to do the table of contents. So please do it manually, because we don't use that the similar, we don't follow the similar format as in those predetermined formats that you find in Word. Just do it manually, right? And there should be no dots between the headings and the page numbers, right? No, you see those too many dots that you get with the predetermined table of contents. There should be just a space between headings, subheadings, and the page numbers. And your page numbers should be single digits, meaning even though chapter 2 or this heading or this subheadings starts from page 20 or starts from page 5 to page 6, do not tell us in a table of contents that the table on the presentation of findings, which is maybe 2.6, is on page 5 to page 6 of the document. No, just tell us where that heading starts, only that page, the single digit page. So if that 2.6 starts on page 5, on your table of contents, write 5. No other, nothing else. Here, this is an example of a table of contents. So you see here, table of contents, this is what I meant by page as heading. So there should be a page here. So you see that this is the first heading, which is first level heading. It is in capital letters. See, there's no full stop after the number, so it's just 1. heading number 1, introduction, and then space, and then page onward. You'll find it on page 1. So introduction will be found on page 1 of this document. Okay, and you move on. Heading number 2, which is a first level heading. This is an example. I'm not saying you should do this, just copy this. Remember, the table of contents will relate to your headings, of course. You know that the heading number 2 is not communication and media semantics, but it is has to do with your content analysis, quantitative content analysis. So heading number 2 is your first level heading, communication media semantics, where on page 2, and then this is the first level heading, 2.1, right? It is on page 2 as well. And then another first level heading on page 2, another first level heading on page 3. Then look at the third level heading, bold, lowercase, and italics. On page 3, you see the page numbers are single digits. There's no this heading starts from the page 2 to 4. No, just show us where it starts, and that should end there. This is an example of your table of contents. Okay. As I've mentioned, your introduction should outline the structure of the assignment, and this should be done chronologically, meaning from the first heading to the followed by the second one, the third one, and then the one that is the last one that you conclude your work with. The conclusion should summarize the main points, right? There should be no new information. Your in-text referencing, you must ensure that you in-text your sources correctly. And also there are ways of referencing different media sources, such as films, TVs, and TV shows, etc. So just look at page 46 of your tutorial letter, CMNOL 301. So if you're looking on how to reference internet sources, go to page 37 of the same tutorial letter. Okay, this is where many of you get confused with regard to how to reference your prescribed book. So your prescribed book is a collection of works by many authors, with Professor P.J. Fourie as the editor. So Fourie is not the author of the whole book, but he's the editor. Although he has some chapters in the book, he's the editor of the book. So if, for instance, you are in-text referencing chapter 2, now I'm opening my prescribed book now here. And then I'll go to the first page of that chapter. Okay. Okay, the first page of the chapter 1, I beg your pardon, chapter 1, which is quantitative content analysis. Now it shows you now. This is the title of the page of the chapter and the author of that chapter. According to this chapter is authored by David Wiksten. So that should be your source for this particular chapter. Everything that you mention, if you are reading from this chapter and you're taking information from this chapter, you need to reference Wiksten. That should be Wiksten, not Fourie, because Fourie is not the author of this chapter, but the editor of your book. Yep, you can then go to page 31 of your tutorial letter CMNOL for this style of referencing. As I mentioned, the author of chapter 2 now is Fourie. So this is where it gets, yeah. Fourie now has authored chapter 2. So I'm going to go to chapter 2 now as we speak, which is communication and media semiotics. Okay. Let's see now. All right, yes. Chapter 2. The title of the chapter is Communication and Media Semiotics. The author of this particular chapter is Peter J. Fourie. So meaning that if you have to reference this chapter, Fourie will be your source. So I'll show you then how, when you get to the list of sources consultant, and how do we deal with this type of referencing. So let's move on. Any questions thus far? If there are any questions, please you may ask before you move on. Okay, silence means consent. So we move on then. So this is an example of in-text referencing. So for instance, this person is referencing chapter 2, which is communication and media semiotics. And this chapter is authored by Fourie. So then here's an example. Fourie, he's using the 2017 version book. Fourie on page 50, 2017 page 50 defines a sign as blah, 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 right? Okay, so this is another way of referencing in text. So if the author, the reference is at the beginning of the sentence, this is how you do the referencing. And then you can also put the author at the end of the sentence itself, right? There are two ways. You can start with the author, Fourie says 1, 2, 3, and then you can then also end your sentence with your source, like here. So media texts are informed by ideology. So this comes from where? Comes from Prinsloo on page 398, and then you put a full stop. Remember, the source is part of the sentence. You see the full stop is after the brackets, after you've closed your brackets, after you've put on your reference, and then you put on the full stop. Don't then put your full stop here where you think the sentence end, right? Because your source is part of the sentence. Do not say media texts are informed by ideology, then full stop, and then you put in your source, right? No, the source is part of the sentence if you're going to put the source at the end of the sentence. So this is how you do it. So now we go to the list of sources consulted. So remember, for that chapter 2, if this person was referencing chapter 2, which is Fourie, comma, the initials of the author, full stop, the year of publication, the full stop, the space, and then the title of the chapter itself, right? See how the title is not italics, it's not italicized, right? Communication and media semiotics, comma, where in media studies, is now the title of the book in italics, and then comma, edited by PJ Fourie, the place of publication, the publisher's name, as well as the page range of the chapter. So that chapter starts from page 39 and ends in page 82. Same with the Prinsloo. The Prinsloo was taken in chapter on textual analysis, narrative and argument. You see the title of the chapter is not in italics. The title of the book itself is in italics. The editor is still PJ Fourie, and then all the other information is the same. And then do not label your sources consulted as references, bibliography, and so forth. Sources consulted should be labeled as sources consulted. Sources consulted. And this should be in uppercase, capital letters. Okay, that is all about on the technical presentation requirements. This is what you should be doing with regard to your portfolio to ensure that your portfolio meets all the requirements. So this is another important issue that I need to emphasize with you as you are busy doing your portfolio, is the issue of plagiarism and copying, right? So we have had many instances whereby students will submit similar work. So a group of students will work together. I don't know if they work together, or somebody will do the work and then give it to other students, or they go to somebody and then someone will give them the work and then they submit that work word for word. as theirs. So remember, this is not acceptable at all. Please avoid that. If you're thinking of doing that, avoid that. We're not saying we should not work together, but everybody must submit their own original work. We did not accept similar work. If you find such cases, remember those cases will be taken to student disciplinary procedures, and then this might delay the release of your marks. And usually this process takes time, close to 6 months. So we'll be waiting. You've written your portfolio, then it will show, your mark will show outstanding disciplinary for 6 months. So we don't want that. Please avoid such cases, because we had such incidences in the previous semesters. So this serves as a warning that please do not fall for such cases. Even if somebody says, I can just write you a paper, then you pay me a fee, that is not required. That is not ethical at all. You need to do the work. You are the one who have registered to study. And then when you finally get that degree, you should be proud that you've done the work yourself. You did not pay anybody to do the work on your behalf. You did not copy from any of your fellow students, but it's your own work, and then you own it, and then you're proud of what you've achieved. Okay, so familiarize yourself with this a policy on integrity and plagiarism and copyright infringement and so forth. All right. You need to paraphrase when you're doing your work. Do not copy and paste work of others and then present those as your own. Yes, this is what you need to look for as you do the work. I know it is not easy to paraphrase, especially if you are not a first language, if English is not your first language. So, but please try by all means that you are not doing what is illegal or what is not required. So you can use, sometimes what you can do, use Google to check for alternative ways, right? For different ways, how you can present this word differently from what you are reading. Okay. Yeah, this also on plagiarism. Yes, I've just mentioned this. Completing assessments on behalf of another student, copying the work of another student during an assessment, or allowing another student to copy your work, using social media, e.g. WhatsApp, Telegram, and other platforms to disseminate information. This is not required at all. Please refrain from doing that if you are doing that. So rather, we're not saying we should not interact with other students regarding the portfolios and how to approach questions. If you're stuck, rather contact your lecturer. So, right? If you're stuck, rather contact either myself, Mr. Mfupi, or Miss Simango. Will be able to then guide you on how to tackle certain questions. Okay, do not submit corrupt files and irrelevant files, incorrect files, and so forth. Do not buy. As I've mentioned, there are people who buy scripts. So to go to somebody else and say, I'll pay you this much if you can write this portfolio for me. Unacceptable and unethical. Right? Remember, if you don't reference any source or a theoretical information or discussion, we deduct 25% of the mark. So make sure that you don't lose marks unnecessarily by not putting in sources. Okay, I've talked about declarations, fine. Yeah, so I thought I'd just repeat this thing here regarding the process of coding, right? It's an example that I've also placed during my weekly class session focusing on content analysis. So this is an example of coding sheet. So I know this one this person has just written 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 here, but it doesn't mean that you have to follow the same thing that this person has done. So you can also use different numberings. Okay, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So coding is just a process of just going through your data, which is now your newspaper pages, your newspaper front pages, and coming up with your units of analysis, and then going to the newspapers and looking for those units, and then placing those units inside formulated categories. So you see there are two categories here. Stories on achievements of women. That means depending on this person's unit of analysis, you should have gone to her data and look for any, if they say, for instance, the words her unit of analysis, look for any words that she thinks represent this unit, and then taking those units and then putting it in these categories, right? So this is what we mean by coding. You just go to your data or your newspapers, and then you look for these units as you've mentioned them. The units must also relate to your research problem. Remember, you're looking for types of crime stories. So the units must also represent that. And then you go there, you look for all those items relating to these units, and then you're placing them into your categories, because after you've done this process, you will then go and count. So category A, let's say you've got how many units? 8 units, just an example. Then you count also 8 units from this category. So category B, let's say you get 5 units. So in total, we've got how many units? We've got 8 plus 5, which makes 13. That's your total. Then how do you then get to your result? So you go to your result, then you use table, a pie chart. I think the pie chart will be a good way of showing off your results. So you've got only 2 categories, right? You just go, you go to your you use a pie chart, and then you fill in, you populate the chart accordingly. So remember, you've got 8 on category A and then 5 on category B. Percentage wise, this means, let's say, I'm doing it as we speak here. I'm going to my calculator. We've got 8 divided by 15, then multiply by 100. So I get 53%. So meaning category A frequency is 53%. So I've counted 53% of occurrences insofar as category A is concerned. So then I'm going to category B. I said there are 5 units, just for an example, for demonstrative purposes, and 5 divided by 15. So 33% of all the units account for category 2. So what does this tells me? It means category A, it is more frequent than category B in terms of occurrences. So it means then over the 5 days, the stories about crime, for example, dealing with, I'll just give you an example, maybe with murder crime stories, took 53% of the whole amount of the news stories, whereas the other category, maybe category B deals with GBV, is only 33%. This is how then you represent your results. In a pie chart, I say the pie chart will be the most appropriate for this, because we've got only 2 categories, and then it will show in terms of frequency or prevalence per category in a pie chart. So, but you're free to use the table as well. Okay, yeah, that is the end of this class. So I'll now take questions. Remember, this is the last session. You're free to ask any question that you have with regard to the portfolio. So from Karushan Govender, will the PowerPoint slides be made available to download? This class is being recorded. The recording will be shared with everybody on my modules. Another thing is that if you're looking for only the PowerPoint without the recording, we can also upload this on my modules. Any further questions? So that you are clear as you go and do your portfolio. Okay, there is a question from Reginald. Mr. Lechaba, can you explain the coding sheet again? I didn't hear very well. But I explained the coding processing. Okay, so this is an example of a coding sheet. So coding basically means you are allocating, you've got your units of analysis. Remember 2.1 says formulate 3 units of analysis. So we've got your units of analysis already. It can be words, it can be sentences, it can be time, right? Right. So you will go then to your newspapers. Remember, you need to also code all the 5 newspapers, because remember, you are observing this newspaper over a 5-day period. So go to all your newspapers, all the 5 copies, and then you go and read, because now you formulated your units of analysis, and then you've got your categories. Let's say then your category A is murder crime, stories about murder crime, right? And then you go and you read your 5 newspapers, which are the front pages, and look for any stories that deal, any words that deal with murder, and then you just take those sentences or those words as they are, and then you put them using maybe a table, like this. So you've got your 2 categories, then you go and then, okay, this word says that this person was murdered or killed, right? This one was stabbed to death. This one had an accident, a fatal accident, and so forth. And then you put those units as they appear on your newspaper, right? If the sentence says a person was shot dead, right there, that's your units. You write somebody shot dead as your first unit. You move on to the next one. This one says the person was murdered in his house, and so forth and so forth. So depending on our categories, then you look for those stories from your newspapers and you put all those units as they are. Then at the end, when you're done with your coding, because you've allocated all the units of analysis inside categories, and then you'll count them. So you've got 2 categories, then you count those units. So for instance, category A, you had 5 units, and then category B had 4 units. So it means then in total, how many do you have? You have 9 units. So now you then you do percentages, right? What is the percentage of category A in terms of its occurrence? You work on the percentage, and then you'll give you also the percentage of the category B, and then you present that in a table form, in a pie chart form, or in a graph, right? To present your findings. And you don't just present your findings in a pie chart, a table form, or a graph. You also provide a narrative description of what you found, right? So according to this, to the findings, newspapers stories about murder appeared 55%, or they make up 55% of all the stories covered, and stories about GBV, they make up 25% of all of the stories covered. So you are providing a descriptive analysis or description of your data. Okay, so I hope this then clarifies your questions regarding coding. Any other question? Any other question? Please ask anything related to the portfolio so that you're not confused as to what you need to do. Any confusion, any clarification, please ask now. Eugene, your hand is up. Please go ahead.
So I just wanted to make sure that the 5 daily newspapers that we analyze in assignment 1 are the same ones we're going to use for this question 1 of the portfolio.
Yeah. Yes. You use the same. It's the same newspaper that you use for your assignment 1.
The
And
same.
for those,
newspaper.
yeah, and for those who are doing supplementary, if there are supplementaries here, remember now you need to also go and look for a newspaper for yourself. And if you have not done so already, now is the right time to do so, because now we still have to observe that newspaper for 5 days. So it should be over a 5-day period. And then go to 201 that I've also shared with you to check for the assignment 1 answers on how a problem statement should have been formulated, and also the research questions. If there are any supplementaries, of course, if you'll be listening, please make sure that you do that. You start with your newspaper observation or newspaper collection now, so that you don't get stuck during by the time the assignment is due. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, if there are no further questions, so we then have to end the class, and I wish you the luck with your compilation of the portfolio. Hopefully that everybody else will be happy and will be successful in this module. As I've mentioned, please, if you get stuck, don't feel free to contact any of us, myself, Mr. Mfupi, and Ms. Sibango will gladly assist you. Reginald, the newspaper need to be referenced or just analyzing them without acknowledging the work? Oh my, okay. You need to reference the newspaper as well. Okay, those, right. Okay. No, you don't have to. If let's say I've analyzed this Sowetan for 5 days, so the name of the newspaper is fine, because we're just looking for, we're counting things. We're doing counting. So it's fine if you don't even reference, but mention the name of the newspaper, right? Also, again, another thing that you need to do is to attach your coding sheet. Remember, when you do the coding process, this table here should be attached to your portfolio, please, so that we are aware how you came to those percentages, how you came to those results. Please attach your newspaper, your coding of your newspaper. Okay, so if there are no further questions, I see Lemise is typing. If you can just maybe verbalize your question, because yeah, maybe it'd be much faster if we do that. Because we need to end the class.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can use any newspaper for the assignment.
We've lost you. So if you can repeat that, please. If you can repeat what you've just said, we didn't get that. Seems as if she's struggling with probably connection. Okay, I see she's typing. While she's typing, Eugene, you may ask your question.
So I just want to make sure one more thing. Because you said we can use our previous articles that we used in assignment 1, the dates of those articles won't matter.
No, they won't
Okay.
matter. It's fine. Just no, you don't have to worry about that. Just use the same newspaper that you've used for assignment 1. You don't have, but if you feel like you need another newspaper, then go ahead. So you can do that. You can do that if you're thinking maybe the newspaper that you use for assignment 1 does not cover what you're looking for, then you can go ahead and look for another one. It's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Let me say, can we use any other any newspaper? Yes, any newspaper, as long as it remember you're looking for types of crimes, as long as it covers what we're looking for. Because you can't say, no, I've chosen this newspaper, but however, there's nothing on crime. So it's a 0-0. So how then how then are we supposed to mark that? So please make sure that the newspaper that you're choosing is also related to what you're looking for. Right. So they don't have to, remember it's for over 5 days, so they don't have to have stories on crime every day of the week. So there are some days where maybe those crime stories will not be covered by that particular newspaper. That is still fine. So what we're looking for is to assess if whether you are able to do conduct content analysis on your own. So this is what we're actually looking for to see from you guys. Okay. Yeah, no, thank you so much for attending. Remember. Okay, Reginald, the newspaper articles may be posted as addendum for proof of analysis or none. If we can just also post one, please attach one newspaper, not all the 5, as proof that you have done the work. Please attach only one page of that newspaper. It's fine. That's still fine. As proof that you've done the work. Don't forget to attach also your coding sheet. Okay. Thank you so much. We wish you all the best with your portfolio compilation. Yes. Yeah, and then please feel free to contact us should you need further help, assistance with your portfolio. Thank you for attending. Goodbye.